We will be working all hours of the night, weekends, and holidays, enforcing the laws and putting our lives on the line.
At every LAPD graduation, there are always some men and women who didn't just want a career in law enforcement. They came here from places like Lubbock and Alamogordo, Philadelphia, and Duluth, specifically to become Los Angeles police officers. It's neither the largest police department in the United States nor the most glamorous one, but there's something almost charismatic about putting on the blue suit and patrolling one of the most diverse cities in the world. To be an LAPD officer is to come to work with the knowledge that the end of your watch could be around the next corner or waiting at the end of a Code 3 call.
Hands up! Don't shoot! Hands up! Don't shoot!
Protecting and serving is often a thankless job, and now with the deployment of dash cams and body cams, there's no doubt that every split-second life or death decision is going to be reviewed by people with a lot of time to consider the possibilities. Complicating matters is the inability of the city and its police officers to reach an agreement on a new labor contract. Today on Midday Sunday, it won't be Chief Charlie Beck or any of the department's brass talking about police matters. It won't be Mayor Garcetti either. Today is one of the relatively rare times when the nearly 10,000 rank-and-file members of the LAPD have the opportunity to speak directly to the people they protect and serve. Good Sunday morning, everybody. Our guests today are from the Los Angeles Police Protective League. Sitting right next to me here, Jerretta Sandoz. She is a sergeant with the league, but you're also a director.
Vice President.
Vice President. Yes. And with us also is, forgive me because I'm so intrigued by the fact that we've got these folks here.
Craig Lally.
Craig Lally is here, Lieutenant, and he is the President. What's the big issue these days? When in the locker rooms before the roll call, what is it? Is it cameras?
Yeah, one of the reasons it just came out. We're at meet and confer stage with the body cameras. We just got sent a rough draft of the policy, the actual policy of the on-body cameras. The officers in Central Division, a portion of the Central Division were testing 3 different companies to figure out what company they wanted to go with. Mm-hmm. So now it's come back to the Police Commission. We got a rough draft of the actual rules, and we just got that a short time ago, so we're starting with going over the policy.
Beyond the technology and the company and all the rest of that stuff, what's the feeling about walking around with a camera on?
Well, with the officers, of course, it's new. It's something that has never been done before as far as body cameras. And mainly, they want a fair policy. They want to make sure it's not the gotcha era. We're way beyond that, and that's something that the meet and confer, that we will make sure that it's not a gotcha era and that the officers are treated fairly and that the policy is fair.
But is that even possible in this era when we have so many things political and so many things going on within the department in terms of what you and I in a conversation earlier referred to as betrayal?
Right. Well, our goal on this policy, and I hope it's the same goals as the department is, we want to make it fair and consistent. You know, it's not only protecting the rights of the officers, it's protecting the rights of the citizens and civil liability for the city. Mm-hmm. So it's multifaceted. It's not just protecting the officers' rights. And we got to get this right because it's the most important thing on the table right now as far as I'm concerned.
But is it the sort of thing, am I wrong in assuming that there's generally resistance to putting these on?
No, you know what, I would disagree with you on that. I knew a lot of the officers that were in the pilot program. I think all of them were volunteers to do the pilot program. So I got a lot of feedback from them. A lot of them said it's a great system. It's another tool, and basically that you can have to. So if there comes a situation when a citizen makes false allegations against you, it's overwhelming evidence that the incident didn't happen. So I talked to a lot of officers that actually happened to in the pilot program, mm-hmm. and they were very happy with the system.
Have you had some feedback suggesting that citizens that you come in contact with, that they're not particularly anxious to be seen on these cameras either?
You know, as far as citizens, that could be also a problem because we have the rights of the citizen. Do they actually want to be videotaped? So there are lots of things that I believe and that we believe as a union need to be worked out prior to rolling out these cameras. So that's the whole purpose of the meet and confer, and we're anxious to get started with that. Body cameras, there's pros and cons, of course, but we also want to make sure that we work those kinks out so there's no problems in the future.
About a year ago, there were some problems reported with the dash cams, that allegedly there were officers who were disabling them in some way or another, messing with the antenna on the black and white, so on and so forth. First of all, was that really happening?
That's true. My understanding, it did happen, but I think it was very exaggerated at the amount. I think, and I don't know who did it, but my understanding is that it was possibly it did happen, but it was really blown out of proportion. And since then, we haven't had any incidents since the initial stages of the in-car camera. I haven't heard of any instances of anything going wrong.
When you talk to those 10,000 men and women, if they had their druthers, would they rather not have the cameras? Whether it's in the dashboard or on their body?
You know, I would say yes, because police officers, especially LA police officers, they're honorable, and some feel, and I won't say all of them, but some feel that these cameras are pretty much, let's watch what they're doing. But there's a bigger picture here. We as a league embrace the cameras. We just want to make sure, because they're coming, and they're probably going to be coming to all law enforcement across the country. So we want to make sure everyone's watching LAPD with these cameras. We want to make sure that they're implemented and they're rolled out the correct way so that we can ward off complaints. There'll be an actual recording of incidents that occur that without the camera, maybe there could be some controversial thoughts or controversial lawsuits, and we could say, hey, here it is, it's right on camera. This is what occurred.
But is the implementation of cameras, is it the result, do you think, of a generalized distrust of law enforcement across the country, or somebody out trying to sell the technology, or what?
You know, in my opinion, it's just technology. When I came on the job 34 years ago, we didn't even have handheld radios. We had just gotten about 2 years out when I was out of the academy. So the technology now is so much more advanced. Back then, training officers would not, they would have their radios and stick them into converticom and lock it in.
Sure.
And they refused to take it out of the car. The probationer, which was me, had to take it on all the calls because they were so scared to death of losing that thing, because they were told if you lost one of these radios, the value back then I think was $2,000 or $3,000 a piece, that you're going to take a 5-year suspension. So obviously we've gotten past that. So anytime you have new technology, the unknown out there, I think it's initially because it's an unknown. It's just like anything else. But I remember 34 years ago, a training officer did not want to carry that radio because of the fear of getting lost.
Yeah. I guess this would be the point to segue into race relations, since the cameras and, yeah. What's the sense? The old model was, whether it's the LAPD or the Sheriff's Department or the municipal, that they're patrolling our city with their windows rolled up and they're not really connected with the community they serve, especially if it's a community of color. Is that mentality still around?
Well, working in a community of color and also being a senior lead officer in Southeast Division, LAPD officers have spent years cultivating the relationship between the community and the police. It's very, very important. It starts with communication. It starts with understanding. Are there people who still have conflict with the police? Absolutely. There'll always be conflicts with the police, but I think to minimize it, do what the officers are doing. They're out in their community. They're more active. They have meetings with the community to listen to their concerns. So I think their race relations within the department, LAPD, has improved greatly since I came on 20 years ago.
As an observer of you at work, the department, law enforcement at work, there are two things that I've noticed. When there's a female officer or a female deputy there, it tends to calm things down a little bit. But the fact that you show up and you're a lady or a gentleman of color, does that help or does it work against you?
Well, that's twofold. I've been in both situations where it has helped, and I've also been in situations where it did not help, because it was, okay, you're one of them. you're not one of us.
Yeah.
So that situation just has to be worked out. But then there are situations where they'll come to me and they'll say, oh, she's a female and she's African American, so let me talk to her. Maybe she understands my plight. Maybe she understands what's going on.
Yeah. One of the worst things growing up in Hollenbeck, one of the worst things that we would see would be a car rolling up and having a black or a Hispanic officer riding there along with a white one, because we knew that we knew most of the time the officer of color was going to be especially difficult with us, especially rough with us, to prove that they could be to their white partner. Does that stuff still go on?
I would say no.
You're looking at me.
No, I mean, I haven't seen it.
Okay.
So no, I can't sit here and say that it does go on because I haven't seen it.
Yeah. On that note, let's take a break. We'll come back and we'll regroup a little bit and we'll talk about, how about the labor contract?
Sounds
Yeah?
good.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks.
Stay with us. We'll be right back. This is Midday Sunday. We're talking with the Los Angeles Police Protective League. Our guests are Sergeant Jerretta Sandoz and Lieutenant Craig Lally. The contract. How long have you been without a contract?
We've been without a contract since June 30th, 2014.
But you've been negotiating longer than that?
Yes, we started negotiations in February of 2014.
Now, in the website that I referred our viewers to earlier, lapd.com, the League's website, you have an interesting editorial, interesting comment there, where you write that if the city paid its officers what they're worth, couldn't afford them.
Absolutely.
Expand.
LAPD officers are the best. They're the best in the country, the best trained, professional. They go out there each and every day and do their job, protect and serve the citizens of Los Angeles. So what they're actually worth, the city can't afford. Mm-hmm. So what we're asking for is fair compensation.
Mm-hmm. What is fair? How do you judge that?
We judge fair by we're being paid 13th in the region, so which means there are 13 other law enforcement agencies in our surrounding areas that make more than us. So as we keep falling behind, and as we keep getting zeros, we fall farther and further behind. Thus, officers are leaving. Our trained officers are leaving to other departments.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Where does the city come up with the money to pay the officers what they're worth?
Well, I know, just like any other big city police department in the country, we get budgeted most of the, in our situation in LA, it's about $1 billion out of an $8 billion budget. To me, it's all about priorities. The reason we have so much, we pay so much is because of we have 10,000 employees, city employees. Mm-hmm. And if you go to Boston, New York, Chicago, to scale, it's exactly the same. Basically, what I think, they got to find the money, because the bottom line is we have a vast majority of our recruits going through the academy are graduating, walking out the back doors, and going to neighboring cities. Mm-hmm. We got to fix that problem. If we don't fix that problem with higher salaries and better benefits, we'll never stop the sieve from happening. Yeah. It's going to be a continuous turnover.
Where does the money going to come from? Are we going to raise taxes? Or are we going to cut some fat? What do we do?
Well, you can start with cutting some fat, because it's an $8 billion budget. Yeah. Okay, and like I said,
where's the fat?
Well, I don't have the budget in front of me right now,
yeah.
so
But in general terms, I mean, are we paying our deputy chiefs, assistant chiefs too much money?
Well, each year we've done our homework. Each year the city starts with the city actually ends with a surplus each year, because as you know, there's revenues that come in each and every day to the city.
Sure.
From all these businesses that are going up downtown. There's revenues. So instead of having saying that we're actually below budget and that they can't afford pay raises, you need to look at the last 5 years, and it does show that the city has a surplus. So there's going to have to be something cut off, some fat cut off, as you were saying, but police officers have to be appreciated, and they have to be paid what they're fairly.
How far is this going to go? You went, the league did the very unusual thing of declaring an impasse, which is something that employers normally do. Did that have any effect?
Well, we're at impasse, and our mediation hearing is actually scheduled next week, February 13th. So the bottom line is we're at one end of the spectrum, the city's at the other end. The mediators are supposed to try to get us closer together on a contract, and we'll see what the mediator says, because it's an independent body that's supposed to look at all the facts.
Is it a situation where there's politics involved, and maybe even a demonstration of power? We're the city. We can squish you like this?
You know, the mayor states that he has to be fiscally responsible. We definitely understand that, but we also have to make sure the citizens are safe in this city, and that comes back to crime is up. And with officers leaving, crime is going to continue to go up. So we need to make sure that our priorities are straight as far as public safety. Public safety is number one. It's paramount. People want to feel safe in their city. They want to be free of crime and incident of crime. And that's the job of the police officer. And officers, LAPD officers, do that very well. But when we have officers leaving in droves, 400 left last year to go to different agencies. So if we keep depleting our force, crime is going to be on the rise. Businesses will leave, and revenues will cease.
What about the chances of an epidemic of blue flu?
Blue flu, we cannot do blue flu. Blue flu is illegal, and that is not something that our union would advocate for. Police officers, LAPD, they're the best. They're going to continue to do their job. But we just want to be appreciated, and we want to be paid fair compensation.
And to piggyback on what Jerretta says, there hasn't even been any rumors about any police officers going out on some type of blue flu. It's not even discussed. So just to let you know that.
We've also talked about, we talked about it in the beginning, about, I used the term earlier, betrayal. You have a piece, and I recommend that folks point your browsers at that and take a look at your piece on the discipline system in the LAPD and the culture that makes a lot of officers looking over their shoulder because they're concerned about having disciplinary problems leveled against them, even though they may be inappropriate. What's going on?
Well, in my opinion, and I'm going on 35 years on this job, and in my opinion, and the vast majority of the police officers, is that our discipline system has been fraudulent for at least 40, 50 years. We're working on the same discipline system that we have in place now that Chief William Parker instituted 50 years ago.
But he was a reformer, don't forget.
He was a reformer, but times have changed, and the bottom line with most of the officers, they feel it's not fair. It's not fair. There's a lot of preferential treatment going when people do get disciplined. Sometimes you get a situation where one officer could have one complaint and the identical complaint can go to another officer. One will get disciplined. The other one generally won't even have a complaint written against them. So there's a myriad of problems with the discipline system. We currently have three captains that are on our department who sits on Board of Rights who are currently suing over the discipline system because they feel they're being unfairly treated after they render a verdict at a trial board, and then the chief or somebody above them does not like the decision. So the first time in my history that I've been on the job that we actually have command staff that actually sit on Board of Rights say it's not fair.
Does this affect the kind of service, the kind of work that your officers are doing on the street?
Well, yeah, they're afraid to do anything. They don't want to become involved in anything now because it's easier to be a Los Angeles police officer, to roll up your windows, not get involved with a possible suspect for the fear of getting a complaint or whatever the department can, like Jerretta said, the gotcha system that we have in place. That's the fear out there, and we got to change. We can't let that affect the way the officers do business. If we do that, we're all going to fail. The citizens are going to fail. The city's going to fail. Very
quickly, because we're about to run out of time, is there any hope to reform that?
Absolutely. There's always hope. And as your union, we will fight to reform the system.
Yeah. It's one of those situations where we needed to have more time and we just don't. But we got to take one more break. Let's do that, and we'll be back in just a second. As we wrap up this edition of Midday Sunday, the Los Angeles Police Protective League, that's where our guests are from. They've got a great website, lapd.com. You really need to look at that so you can get a different perspective on law enforcement, not just in Los Angeles, but in Southern California. And if you've missed that, you can go to our site, myfoxla.com. You'll find a link there that will take you directly to the Protective League site. So we've got about a minute left. What message do you want people to remember? What do you want them to know after having watched this program?
Well, I'm going to say, basically, I want the people of Los Angeles to know that we're there for them. We handle millions of calls a year. Every police officer that's on this job is dedicated to the city of Los Angeles and the citizens. Obviously, we want higher pay and benefits, but that's not going to affect the way we do business. We're here for the citizens.
Last thoughts?
Yeah, you know, citizens of Los Angeles, LAPD officers will always be there. They came on this job to protect and serve them, and that's what they'll do. But thank an officer. I mean, they work hard. You know, they're dedicated to making sure that citizens go home, and sometimes they don't go home.
And for the few who don't do their job the way they should?
Then there's mechanisms in place to deal with that.
But you as a police officer, what do you say to that, to those officers who are less than honorable?
Don't tarnish the badge. We worked hard. LAPD is a long legacy of working hard to get where we are to get today. Those people that tarnish the badge don't need to be an LAPD officer.
On that note, I thank you both for being with us. It's been extraordinary to have people talking as candidly as you have, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
So on that note, let's show folks the full screens one more time so that they will know where they should be going. The beginning one is the Los Angeles Police Protective League site. It's at lapd.com. Lots of stuff to find there. You can also find the link on our site, myfoxla.com. Thanks to all of you for being with us. We will see you back here, not next, next weekend. We'll be here with Culture Clash. We'll see you then.